Welcome to Akmtb. Today, I'm in my new setup here. I've done some product reviews and stuff like that before, and I'm intending to continue to do product reviews and maybe to do some other content as well here in this setup. This is my home YouTube studio setup. Behind me, I have my editing station, and here I have a table with some lights and stuff where I could do some stuffs and talk about, well, whatever is relative to this channel. One of the first thing I want to address here is a new camera that I picked up. It's not the newest one. It's quite an old one in some ways. It's a Sony A6400. And I already done my rig for this. And I have a monitor, some external power, and some nice handle. I recently picked up this camera to replace my Sony RX100 that I'm currently recording with, or maybe not really replacing, but to complement. With this camera and my RX100, I would be able to do a 2-camera setup here if I wanted to film what's happening on the table as well. But one of the main reasons that I'm actually swapping out is because I'm a little bit tired on the noise that the RX100 is generating. Don't get me wrong, the RX100 is a superb camera. I really like it. It's the autofocus of the camera is kick-ass. It had never failed me. Never. It always managed to get my head sharp, and the eye tracking of that camera is outstanding. It works well with some external power. The format of it is superb. It has some possibilities to use S-Log and hybrid log gamma, the HLG. But in S-Log profiles, especially S-Log 3 that I previously have experience from when I've been working with my Sony FS7 in the past. And considering that I'm working with film professionally, that's where I get money for my living comes from filmmaking. Because of that, I kind of want to work in a similar way. I want to have control over the colors and how the image look. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to do an advanced color grading. I just want to get a nice touch on the image, a cool touch that sticks out a little bit, and sometimes I could flip out a little bit and try some new cool stuffs. However, when doing that in S-Log 3 with the RX100, it's noisy. But S-Log 3 overall is noisy. So I swapped to S-Log 2. It's less noisy. Later down the road, I'm not sure what I'm going to use with this one. In some situation, I'm probably going to use hybrid log gamma, but in others, I'm going to use S-Log 2. Reason to use the hybrid log gamma is because the autofocus on this one in S-Log 2 is not the greatest one. But here in my home setup, I'm not really planning to use the autofocus that much because I'm going to use vintage lenses. And I'm especially going to use mainly some Pentax lenses. Because I have some of them. I have an old Nikon. And this is really cool because you're just adding a adapter and you could basically put almost any lens on your Sony A series because it has the E mount and there's no mirror, so you could put most of the lenses on it. I also have an EOS to NEX adapter, and I have a really old school one that is M42 to NEX. So I have the possibility to use quite a lot of lenses. My main lens to use is going to be this one. It's a Pentax Auto Shinon. I don't know how that is pronounced. It's multi-coated. It's a Japanese lens. It's a 35mm prime that is have an f-stop on 2.8. I have some other cool lenses on the way. I just ordered a 50mm 1.7 and a 28mm 2.8. And this glass is kick-ass. You get a lot of lens for the money when you're buying this one. The two lenses I ordered today, they cost me about $60. So, not much. Just, you don't gonna get anything for $60 that is like worth putting on a camera that gonna gives you that quality. Besides this setup, I have a monitor from Newer, and in the bottom I have a small rig base plate, I guess it's called. It's a base plate. There's two rods on it, and on the rod I attached a power bank. The power bank I choose to use is looking like this. The brand of is Mofine. It's normally made for Apple products, but it will work fine just on anything. There's no specific reason why I picked this up. I went to the store today and they had it for a sale. They were like $7 each. So it made sense to just like pick up a bunch of them and use them as batteries. This one is on 5050 milliamperes. So compared to the battery that comes with the A6400, this one should be comparable to about 5 batteries. It's going to be interesting to see how the power is going to last. I also ordered some extra batteries so I could swap it out. A neat thing with my whole setup here is that it's quite easy for me to make it smaller. It's just a matter of disconnecting the HDMI and undo the monitor, and then remove the camera from the small rig base plate. And after that I need to remove the cable as well, but I'm not going to do that now. You get the point. But this setup is much smaller. It is, if I want to take still pictures, it's still doable. It's a little bit big for still images, but it works. And it's also like a nice run and gun setup. You're losing the power, but the batteries is not that terrible. So I'm feeling confident that is going to be like a well-working setup. And when you want to go bigger, you just reattach. I'm going to show you this setup as well. This is the small rig base plate. There's a power bank in the bottom, just attached with some rubber bands. And then I have a cable routed behind to the power that I connect in the camera. So this is my power pack. The cage I'm using is a Camvat, and it was not really ordered and meant for this camera because I actually picked up a Canon XC10, which was a camera that went under the radar for me in many ways. I've never seen it, and it's a 5-year-old camera with face tracking, and it shoots in 4:2 color space, 8-bit VO, and it has a C-Log. So on the paper, it looks like a really nice camera. So I thought, well, I have to try it. And the price was pretty nice as well. It could shoot up to 300 megabits a second, and you could choose between 300 and 200. If you want to record in 4K on that camera, you need to use it on a CFast 2. I have a camera here, and it's a nice thing. The definition of this camera is a handycam, and it has a handle that is, you could turn it. So if you want to get low or if you want to get high and stuff like that, it's really adjustable. And the screen as well, are not like flippable. You cannot see yourself with it, but you could change the angle of it. So it's pretty useful. So if you're getting low, you could really see it very well from the top, like this. When I had this camera set up here in this setup, which was the primary focus for getting a new camera, I was not really satisfied with how the face tracking was working, because in some situations it wanted to get more focus on the background. And another thing, I was not really satisfied with the background blur either. The distance to the wall is not the biggest one, but I want the wall to be a little bit blurry because it looks better. So I'm going to send that one back. And that's why I decided to take a look on the A6400. And I was ridiculously lucky as well, because when I went to the store, just to looking on cameras, I wanted to try this one and feel it, and then the guy in the store couldn't find a battery, he couldn't find a box and anything like that. And I'm like, okay, bummer, I'm not going to buy it. And then I went back home, and then I started to think, and was thinking that, hey, maybe I should buy it without the battery and without the box and negotiate the price. Especially considering that I have this old one. It's an X7, which in many ways, it looks similar. It's the predecessor to this one. Before it was called the Alpha series, it was called Nex. And this was the high-end stuff on the Nex. It still does great pictures. When it comes to film, well, no. But this is still a camera that I wouldn't mind using to taking stills. Down to the business on this camera. I know this video is getting long already. It's not really a review. I'm probably going to do a quick review of this as well. But down to the cold fact. If you are into making films and want to know the basic things of this, yes, it has an S-Log and it shoots in log curves. Autofocus doesn't work very good in this on S-Log 2. However, it works very well in hybrid log gamma. So a lot of people are ending up shooting in hybrid log gamma with this one. That means you are more limited with the dynamic range. It has a microphone input and it has an HDMI. If you connect an external monitor on this one, and that monitor is just having a resolution of 1080p, you're not going to be able to see the menu and the face tracking on the monitor. However, but I'm not sure on this, if you have a 4K monitor, I think you are able to get the menu in the monitor. So keep that in mind. Another thing as well, when you're pressing record, the main display turns off if you have a monitor connected. So some things to take in considerations. Besides that, it's a neat little camera for shooting films. It shoots in 25, 24, and 30 frames per second in 4K. If you go down to 1080p, it has a faster frame rate. I think it's 120 frames per second. This adapter, however, the adapter is a Futka. Problem I have with this adapter is that it's really difficult to get it on to the house of the A6400. I have a Nikon adapter as well, and that one comes from K&F Concept. This adapter works without any issues to get it onto the house. It's funny when it comes to the PK mount adapter, it seems like it's only this one from the brand Futka that is hard to get on. This EOS to NEX and the M42 to NEX adapters, they just go on without any issues. So it's specifically this one, and unfortunately this is the lens I'm going to use, but I'm still going to be able to show you because, well, it's possible to get it on. It's just that it's very hard and there's a lot of resistance, and I don't really want to push it because, well, you never know what's going to happen if you're doing that. So the footprint of it and the way the lens looks, it's not the longest one. And I'm not sure about this whole thing sticking out with the power bank. I've seen people putting it on the sides and stuff like that. But I wanted it in the bottom. And I'm a little bit surprised because wouldn't it be awesome if there was a power bank specifically made for filmmaking and stuff like that, that was a little bit thicker than this one, and that had threads into it, or like a cage where you could just like put a power bank into it and you could close the cage and you could just swap out the power bank on the go, and it would be in the bottom instead of like bulling on the side. I don't like that. To build the cameras on the side, it doesn't look good. And well, maybe there is a product like that. If you know a product like that, I would appreciate if you let me know that in the comment. I seen there is some handles though, where you could put NP batteries and stuff like that. Those handles comes from Tilta, but well, I don't want that solution. I want like a cage or just somewhere where I could thread my power pack in the bottom of my whole setup. And it would be awesome if it was removable. But now let's swap over to this one. We're currently rolling with A6400. And, well, it's hard to say what the exact difference is just when you're looking at the display. But it looks a little bit clearer. The background is slightly... there's some more blur in the background. And overall, the clarity of the image is just a little bit different. And in some ways, it's also softer. So it's basically, what could you say? It's the effect of a larger sensor. This camera is in so many ways awesome, but it's also quite noisy. However, it's possible to managing the noise. I use Neat Ninja or Neat Noise. It's the name of the plugin. However, noise reduction, how good it might be, it takes a lot of processing power. It takes longer time to get it out. And well, I kind of want to streamline that part of my productions. What you see here, however, is my RX100 setup. It has a U-rig and it has a Ulanzi power pack. and it's also connected to a U-Rig magic arm. And this power pack powers this camera for, well, long. I think it is, I should probably know this, but this power bank is probably like equal to 5, 6, 7 batteries or something like that. Sometimes when I'm out shooting, like the off-road videos and stuff like that I've been doing, I'm out shooting a whole day, and this one doesn't run out of battery during a whole day of shooting. And it also practices as a extra grip, so I could handhold this because this has in-body camera stabilization, which the A6400 doesn't have. So in that sense, I kind of guess that I would prefer the 6600 rather than the 6400. However, the price I got the 6400 for was very good. If I want a 6600, I need to spend the twice the amount of the money that I spent on the 6400. And is it worth it? Maybe. It is noticeable with the absence of the in-body stabilization. The stabilization in the body nowadays is starting to get pretty good, or they are really good. So it's too bad that the 6400 doesn't have it. I might maybe consider to get that. There's also another Sony camera that is to consider when you are into this, which is the C7. That one is full frame sensor though, which is pretty cool because then you get like a cool cinematic look, and the blur effect is really nice. However, when we're talking about the cameras as the C7 and the A6400, not the 6400, the 6600, the money we're talking about, it's a huge difference. But well, I'm definitely considering. I'm actually considering to return the 6400 that I'm shooting with and get some of the other cameras. And why am I doing that? Is it because I don't like the 6400? Well, the thing is, I like the 6400, and I know that the 6600 and the C7 are similar in many ways, and even slightly better, which is why I'm considering that. Another thing with the 6600 is the battery. They updated the batteries, and the batteries are a little bit bigger, so the battery life is much better. The focus thing that was going on in the S-Log with the 6400, that thing is gone in the 6600. So I'm kind of considering it. And then we also have the thing with the C7, which is the full frame. And besides the price difference that you need to put up with more money, you have the thing that you need some more expensive lenses. You need full frame lenses, and if you're gonna get the C7 with the lens, you probably gonna spend almost $3,000. But if you're getting the house only, it's like $2,000, and that one is $800, and the 6600 is around $1,600. So definitely something to think about. The more I think about it, I kind of want a C7 because, well, it is full frame after all. So we will see what we are ending up with. However, now you've seen my setup. This video is probably going to be way too long and just a lot of like talking and technical stuffs and things like that. There will be more cameras on the channel though, but when I'm going to get a camera and stuff like that, it's going to be more down to the business. There is a tons of different camera reviews and stuff like that. And I'm not really going to dig that deep into it, because when I got a camera, I just want to work with it. I'm not really interested in cameras. I'm interested in using the cameras. So when I'm going to review a camera, it's going to be my perspective as a professional with the things that I'm looking for. And those things are basically log curves. Since I'm filming myself most of the times on the channel, I want a good and accurate autofocus, and I want an high image quality. I would also love to get like 4K 50 FPS, but that seems to be difficult. If you're gonna go down the Sony line, there is of course Sony cameras that has that, but then we are like, the money you need to spend is quite a bit more than what you need to spend than we are spending here. Then it's also the connectivity with the HDMI and what's happening when you're connecting the HDMI. How are things like that affecting the camera? So quite simple. That's probably what I'm gonna focus about. However, if you like this content and want to see more, click here to subscribe, and click here to see our playlist with more photo related stuffs. And if you don't want to miss out any of my content, press that bell icon to get notifications every time I release a new video. And I release new videos every week. Thanks for watching, and I see you later.